Well, hello everyone. TheOntarioGardener here, back with another automation tutorial. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go right into practice mode because this is going to take a bit of time. Now, the question is, can you automate toast with breadboard? Because breadboards use non-toasted bread, I guess. And the answer is, of course you can. Now, the reason why I started this right up is because with this method, as your typical auto toast setup, is you need to use a safety hob to make your bread. And the initial time you use it takes a bit of time because typically by the time this is portioned out into various areas, this one will be finished making because it takes around, I don't know, 20 seconds. So as you can see this working, it's going to the bread first, it's going to the safety hob first, being cooked. Your breadboard is automatically being loaded up. You see in the background here, I'll use my mouth so you guys can kind of see my mouth. So basically the way it works is you have your flour being pulled from a belt through your sink with the combiner using your sink method, being pulled by a corner grabber to a regular grabber. Again, this could be a corner grabber, it doesn't matter. Going to your safety hob, which is what is cooking the bread ball into a loaf. Corner grabber, grabbing and putting into a freezer. Now again, do you need a freezer? No. But is it worth having a freezer? Of course, because in the beginning of the day, you're having to wait for this loaf to cook. So if you have a frozen prep, if you have frozen prep as well. If you have a freezer, you're going to have at least a partial loaf ready to go at the beginning of the day. And if you remember, your breadboards are actually a starter. So you're going to need them right away compared to needing the toast. Anyway, you're going to get portion from the freezer. Portion is going to be grabbed by the grabber. Now here's where it'll split. It'll go down into your safety hob first. Well, it alternates depending on how you have it set up. But anyway, goes down into your safety hob. The bread cooks the toast, goes into a frozen prep, and this will be used for your toast run. And then otherwise it gets pulled up into here, goes around and goes to your combiner, which combines it onto your breadboard. Now, the way breadboards work is you get two pieces of bread. You serve it, and then boom, you serve it. And then the way this is set up is that this has to be accessible. Again, you could set this up a bit differently depending on your layout. You could move this, say, over to here and put something behind this. It depends on your layout, of course, but you need to have the boards be accessible because when you have a board, say we're simulating a clean board coming back, you got to put it back on the tray stand. And the beauty with this is that it won't break if you run out of boards, because I'll show you what happens basically is, I'm just trying to pull them up and just setting them over here in random spots. Fill this one up, and then the last one's going to be pulled. Let's go. And there we go. And to simulate it being used, I'll just put it in the garbage down here. So you're bringing your fresh board back. See, this won't do anything. This will sit right here. Your board will go back on, and it'll go boom for one, and then boom for two. There's a little bit of a delay just because of how the grabbers have a slight delay to them. So that's basically it. Let's clean this mess, and then we can get out of practice mode and explain a little bit more. So you're basically using a 4x5 20 block complete usable square. So I found this is probably as compact as you can make this without any usable tiles. Now again, could you set this up a little differently? You could have the sink right here. You could have the combiner up here. You could have the bread being pulled, again, the dough being pulled here. Again, you can adapt this to your layout, but I was showing, the point of this video here is to show it as compact as I found that you can make it, where you're pulling toast as well as pulling the bread for the breadboards. And now the good thing is that not every customer orders a starter. So say you have a table of 4 or 6, only 1 or 2 might order a starter. But again, by the time people are sitting down and you're getting around, you're doing your other prep for, say, you're doing soup up here or you're getting some dessert ready, depending on what level or what day you're at for your run, this is running in the background. As soon as your day starts, after the initial day, you're going to have a loaf of bread, or at least a partial loaf, typically in this. Or what you do at the end of the day, you judge how many pieces of toast or bread you have left in your freezer, and all you got to do is just pull a couple bread out or pull the breadboard and just stick it somewhere random, just to get a full loaf or mostly a full loaf in here. Because when the day ends, however full the loaf is in here, whether it has anywhere between 1 to 8 or 9 or 6 or 4 slices, is going to keep that for the next day. Remember, always the one that gets portioned out won't stay. So if you have a full loaf in here and you put it portioned one out because of the portioner, you're going to be left with one less than a full loaf. But again, the freezer I find is ideal for this because you don't have to start from scratch at the beginning of the day. If you have a lot of customers, you can get the breadboards out fairly quickly. Then it'll work on your toast, etc., etc. So this is compact toast and breadboard automation. Again, it's a 4x5 square, 20 block, full blocks. You're not having any gaps anywhere. I know some people say, oh, you can make it smaller by doing it this by this. I'm like, yeah, but count full blocks. If you're doing a square or rectangle, if this is a hole here, you still count this as a 4x5 because what are you going to stick here to use up the space? And typically there's nothing to stick there. But anyway, guys, this is a short and sweet. Some of these I like to just to do a talk of it instead of build them because they're tedious to build. Like this took me a little while to kind of figure out the intricacies to fit it into this 4x5 rectangle shape. But as you see, it fits perfectly well. You could tuck this up somewhere. Could you use this with teleporters? You could use the toast part with teleporters. And then the breadboards would be a bit more iffy because you'd have to have a smart grabber pulling from this counter. Or you could do it from a conveyor, but I wouldn't recommend doing it from a belt like that. You could have, and again, could you have this be the teleporter? And the answer is no, because as soon as this board hits it, it's going to be pushed out, and the combiner won't it shouldn't or likely won't combine two pieces of bread instantly to push it through the teleporter. So the easiest way would be to put a smart grabber here with a full board going to a teleporter, and then what you would do is you'd have a teleporter sitting here bringing the empty boards back. I mean, that'd be the only way you could kind of use these with teleporters. Is it worth it? Probably not. If you're messed up with space, just stick it up in the corner and just all you gotta do is run a couple extra conveyor belts down or a couple grabbers and it'll do the same thing. Anyway, I'm rambling on about stuff that has nothing to do with this compact automation, but thank you guys so much for joining me. If you like this video, please consider leaving me a like as well as a comment. It would be much appreciated. And if you're enjoying the channel as well as my PlateUp content and every other content video that I have out, please consider leaving me a subscribe. We'd much appreciated. I'm getting very close to hitting my next goal, and any support would be welcomed in. So thank you guys so much for joining me for auto breadboard and auto toast compact automation. I'll catch you guys next time with another automation tutorial. Take care now.